Hello, everyone. Alexander here. And today we're going to go into some songwriting basics. Songwriting beginner to intermediate, to be exact. And we're going to specifically, I'm going to be playing my guitar today, but this knowledge can be applied to any instrument, including the voice. We all make sound, so sound is universal. All right, let's have a look. Okay. So, to start off with, we're going to talk about the C major scale. Now, the C major scale has 7 notes before it repeats, ending on C right here. Now, there's a formula for the major scale, and that formula is, so this is the distance between notes, okay? So we've got whole and half here. So the C major scale formula, or the major scale formula, I should say, is whole tone, half tone, whole tone, whole tone, and then finally half tone. Okay? Now, you can actually see that if I was to play on the guitar, if I go back, I'll show you. So C major scale, right? So if that's C right there. Now, if the first interval is whole, a whole is 2 semitones. You can actually see that there. There's a semitone in between there, so whole, half, whole, and then finally there's a little half tone here. Okay? So there are 2 semitones to a whole tone. Okay, so now that we know that, so there are 7 different intervals in this scale, the C major scale specifically. Now that we know that, we can take certain notes from this scale, put them together, and they form a chord. In this case, we're going to be working with triads. So we're actually taking the first note, the third note, and the 5th note of C major and putting them together to make C major. That sounds like this. If I was to play those notes individually, C, E, G, C, E, and G. And putting those together, you get C major. All right. Now, the minor chord formula is 1, flat 3, 5, which, similar to this previous chord, we're grabbing the first, third, and 5th intervals, but we're actually starting on A this time. So we're going to grab A, C, and E. Now, because there is only a semitone between B and C, this flattened third, which would normally mean that we actually lower the third by a half tone, because there's only a half tone interval between B and C, it already works. There's no sharps or flats between B and C for C major because there's only a semitone interval there. So if I was to play these notes individually, A, C, and E, and then if I put those together, I get A minor. Pretty cool, eh? So we're constructing chords now with this scale. So now moving to the next slide. Oh. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. So now that we've got our harmony, of the chords, now we're going to put together a melody. Now, there are certain notes that will sound more desirable than others depending on the mood that we're trying to convey. Now, the actual one way of describing a melody is that it's built up of stable and unstable tones, okay? So you can think of as unstable tones create interest, they create friction, and they guide us to stable tones which create a feeling of peace and resolution. So you can think when we're creating stories with our music, where we're creating tension or friction, and then we're moving towards release and peace and stability. We're going home. So you could think of like an unstable tone is the journey to get home, which is the stable tone, okay? Now, out of a diatonic scale, meaning 7-note scale, which is what we've been working with, the C major scale, the first, third, and fifth interval of that scale are the stable tones, which you may notice are also the notes in a chord, or the notes that were in that chord. And that means that if you were to do some extended chords, maybe some tetrads, 4-note chords, if you were playing a note in that chord over the top of the chord, it would also sound nice and stable. So I'm going to demonstrate that now, okay? The stability of these notes. I'm going to play C major. I'm going to sing these notes. C, E, G, E, C. So all those notes, C, I could just hang on those notes and I'm home. Like they don't feel like they need to go anywhere, right? So we want to use some unstable tones to create interest in our songwriting to get to the stable tones. So if I was to sing a 2, for example, you can hear this when they, if I hang on these notes for too long, these unstable tones, it starts to create a lot of tension, right? Like it really feels like it needs to go somewhere. All right. So I'll incorporate these and I'll show you, okay? So I'll start on C, which is the first note of C major. C, D, D, second tone in C major, D, needs to go somewhere, maybe to E. This note sounds so nice. But if I go back to D, it needs to go somewhere stable because I'm building all this tension. Then to C, D, G. All right, you can hear that, right? It's like it's building a lot of tension. If I sing the 2, which I was just doing then, or if I sung the 4, which would be going from the third, E, F, 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 it's building tension, needs to go somewhere, F, maybe up to G. Oh, it can just stay at G, but we want to create tension, so we're going to go up to A, which is the 6. A, still lots of tension. Then B, lots of tension, B. Back to C. All right, you should be able to get an idea of the different tensions there, right? And you might notice that some of these stable tones sound more stable than others. So in order of most stable to least stable of the stable tones, you got the tonic, which is the first note. That sounds most stable. And then the second most stable is the 5th. And then the third most stable is the 3rd. I hope this has been informative, and stay tuned for more fun music stuff. All right. Bye for now. Much love.